Hiya people, I finally got this program working. It bizarrely didn't want to work for ages. So yeah, this is a video about something I believe God has shown me in the Bible. I haven't actually seen anyone else on YouTube or anywhere talking about it. I don't know if it's it's not, I'm pretty sure I've seen it somewhere on a web page that someone else had a similar idea, but I think it's an important one to share because not many people seem to have noticed it, and especially given current events, it looks like something like this is just so possible right now, especially with what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, people putting things on top of nuclear power plants and some such. So of course the Bible was written a very long time ago, but if you believe that that book is literally from God, the creator of the universe, then he knows all of history before it happened. Now, one thing I will say just before we go into the scripture that I want to mention here is you've got to remember that people back in old times, when they were describing certain things, obviously would have to imagine modern concepts in a different way. So without further ado, let's get into the actual scripture I want to talk about, which is Zechariah 5. Now, to me this seems like, I really wanted to understand what this was, because Zechariah 6 really surprised me. I didn't know this until maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, but back then when I discovered it, it really surprised me that this here seems to reference the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, which is really in the book of Revelation what kicks off the Armageddon, the last days, the end of things. And Zechariah 4 over here seems to kind of reference 2 witnesses before God's throne pouring out oil, and some people, including myself, may interpret it as kind of signifying the time of the church. In between, we have 2 prophecies in Zechariah 5. Now, Zechariah is a book written over 2,500 years ago, in the time of the Babylonian exile of the Jews. So yeah, this is the first half of this chapter is what I really want to look at. So I'll read some of it out, see what you think. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, this is talking about an angel, by the way, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits. Now I'll just stop there a second and say the actual size of a cubit is kind of debated by historians, but I think the general consensus is it's around 2 foot, 1.5 to 2 foot long, but it varies a lot depending on the historians you ask and their views of historical writings. But what we're looking at here is something in the region of 30 to 40 feet long and something 15 to 20 feet in diameter. It's a flying scroll, a flying roll. So okay, continue. Then he said to me, this is a curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. Now, I don't know if you see it the way I do, but you're talking about a flying scroll, and back then, 2,500 years ago, that's a pretty good description of something that looks quite a lot like a nuclear warhead. And you combine that with verse 4 over here, where it talks about it entering into the house of a thief or someone that swears falsely and consuming the timber and stones. How many things do you know that could literally consume the timber and stones? Now, it could be talking about something else, but this sounds a lot like me to be describing a missile. So I got to looking up, the dimensions of nukes. A lot of modern day ballistic missiles look kind of like this. Now, the dimensions we're kind of looking at, it's got to be kind of a bit wider. I mean, the diameter is about half of the length. But I had a look at other nukes to see if there was any other examples. I found this. This looks much more like the kind of dimensions we're talking about. And I think this nuke is an older one. I believe there was one of these, the last one of these in America dismantled recently. I don't have the reference here, but this nuke was one of the most powerful ones behind the Tsar bomb ever made, and I think it was even tested. Way more powerful than Hiroshima or Nagasaki. But yeah, I'm more interested at this point at the dimensions. I did find some other nukes, this one and this one. I can't tell you exactly which ones these are. Some of you may recognize it, but these are all nuclear bombs, and basically their diameter is getting on for half that of their length. Of course, what the Bible is describing here may reference something that actually we don't know about, or hasn't been quite invented yet, or is cutting edge technology. But it's a flying roll, a flying scroll, as in some translations, and this is a curse that God is going to bring on the whole world, which could sound like some sort of a nuclear war. And it's now, the only thing that I find troubling is how could it be that it would be so specific as to just take the lives of those who steal and those who swear falsely. But then I guess that encapsulates quite a lot of people in today's world. I did also once hear a prophecy by a lady on YouTube who passed away quite a while ago now, a Norwegian lady. I'll have to find that video somewhere, but she mentioned a nuclear war coming after a time of peace, when censorship on TV was basically non-existent. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. At this point, I just want you to take note of this scripture here. How much this sounds like a missile, as described in 2,500-year-old language, and how much this sounds like the kind of thing a nuclear missile would do to somebody's house. Now, before I finish, I would like to share with you something that happened to me when I was musing over this scripture and really trying my best to figure it out and understand what it meant. And when I kind of had come to the conclusion that it may well refer to nuclear warheads or some kind of missiles, I kind of bumped into an acquaintance of mine, and she was on the menopause, and I found out later that she just says random things. Well, she put it down to her menopausal condition, that she just comes out with random stuff sometimes. But when she saw me, she just blurted out the words, gamma rays. And I was like, what? And she was like, why did I just say that? Anyway, turns out gamma rays are one of the first kinds of radiation that comes out of a nuke when it hits. They are in the initial blast before the other kinds of radiation become more of a thing with fallout and some such. So that was kind of like crazy, because she had no idea about what I'd been looking at, and it was just a bit like, wow, I've just been looking this up and studying this scripture, and then someone just randomly says that to me. It's like, whoa. So anyway, yeah, so my personal belief is that this is going to come before what's in the book of Revelation happens. So this is going to be the next thing. The end of chapter 4, the age of the church, the age of grace, crying grace, grace unto it, is coming to an end, I believe, and we are entering a time where this is going to happen. Now, there's also this one, which I also believe I have a bit of a revelation about, which I'll do in another video. And then over here, Zechariah 6, we come to what appears to be the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, or very similar to. So if I'm right, this is the next big thing that's going to happen. Now, before I finish this video, I just want to say I didn't make this video to freak anyone out, and if you're not a Christian already, there is hope, you see, because death is not the end, and God has made a answer for people who kind of despair of the situation of this world and all the evil they see, and that answer is Jesus. Basically, none of us are good enough to go to heaven, but God has made a way, because when Jesus died on the cross, that was a sacrifice of his self to give his goodness to you if you follow him and believe him, so that you can go to heaven and that you can be saved, and so that you can live your life in God with you, instead of living your life rejecting God. You can live your life with God at your side, and all you have to do is put your faith in Jesus and follow him. Read what he teaches you to do in the Gospels, follow him and believe in him, and he'll be with you. Get on your knees and pray and tell him you love him, and you tell him you accept him, and you want him to lead you. You don't have to say you love him until you do love him. In fact, it's just better not to say that until you do love him, but do say that you want to understand him and follow him. And in my experience of years of being a Christian, he is for real, and something will happen. It's kind of different for everyone, because everyone's kind of has a different way of seeing things in this world, but God will be right there with you. And even if all this happens, like I'm predicting, God will be there next to you through it all. So I just wanted to leave you with that, because the word gospel means good news, and the good news is, even if the world gets nuked, the good news is you can be saved through Jesus. So I say, give your life to Jesus and you'll be a happier person, and he'll be with you in it all. Alright, so thanks very much for watching. Let me know any of your thoughts, or if God has given you any other revelations about this. I have heard other Christians talking about another chapter of Zechariah, but I didn't think that fit so well. I have also heard of someone mentioning Revelation chapter 18. Again, I think it was about Babylon being destroyed in a day. Could well be referencing nukes there as well. I can't really say. And I'll just see what you think. Alright, God bless everyone. Cheers. Bye bye.